Hey everybody, welcome to TNMCoaching Unplugged and Zoran Todorovic Interconnected podcast. I'm very grateful and happy to be with you once again. This is a podcast when we explore the future of leadership, human development, and evolution of coaching. I'm your host, Zoran Todorovic, and today we're stepping into a fascinating conversation about how the trust, empathy, intelligent algorithms can come together to create believable, ethical, and transformative AI coaching solutions. AI is entering coaching faster than ever. And the real question here is, can AI coach or not? It's not the question any longer. We know the AI can coach. What we don't know, how can we design and build the AI that people can actually trust, they can feel understood by, and they really feel they can grow up with? So this is the heart of this episode: exploration, deep dive into the AI coaching solution, and really transformative conversation to empower you to understand the AI as a coach. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome my guest, Luka Abramovic, who is a technology strategist, AI innovator, founder of Adamant Code, a company dedicated to build intelligence, human-centered digital solution. Luka and his team are specializing in designing products that actually enhance human capabilities instead of replacing it, which made them a perfect partner for us to work with when it comes to developing of our coaching solution, which is the Leelou AI Coach. Luka has been an integral part of Leelou's development. He brings a blend of technical architecture, psychological insight, genuine curiosity, adaptability, and a true partner who helped us support ourselves to find out the best possible solution within our own AI coach. Today, we're going to unpack this a little bit more. We're going to share our development journey together. Hopefully, we're going to give you the behind the scenes when it comes to Leelou. And this episode is dedicated to all of the human resources specialists, learning and development managers, leaders who are curious about this topic and who are considering integrating the AI coach in their everyday work life to help them become more productive, more successful, to have better well-being, and to become the best possible version of themselves. Welcome, Luka.
Thank you, Zoran. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we've been long journey, right, in developing Leelou AI Coach, and we've been through different ups and downs and creativity and exchanges and innovation and design. How was it for you? When you reflect a little bit back on this collaboration with us, what would you say was a pivotal moment for you, something really exciting, and what was the most challenging moment for you? Let's start with that.
Yeah, the whole journey developing this product was fascinating. It was really insightful for myself and our team. First of all, we learned a lot about coaching. Um, there are a lot of nuances, especially when pairing it with AI, that need to be taken into account. If I were to highlight one very important thing that we learned, and this was a given on other projects as well, but this really opened our eyes, is that you need to be very explicit with all the instructions that you're giving the AI. For example, if you are too explicit with those instructions, it also doesn't work really well, especially for conversational AI, especially in coaching, where there needs to be some sort of human touch, some sort of warmth. But if you give the AI too much freedom, too much space to roam in the whole conversational space, it also doesn't perform quite well, because it tends to do things that you don't want it to do. So striking a balance between those two is really important, and this was one of the most challenging things during development, definitely.
And I can share that as well. For us to really get that balance going when the AI knew what it was doing, but at the same time had a little bit of creativity, as you said, not giving it too much space, but governing the algorithm towards the most important thing for us, which was that we really wanted to shift from AI giving solutions. And we all use AI like that, right, Luka? In today's life, we all ask chat to support us, to help us, to guide us, to mentor us sometimes, to give us recommendations in the form of solution. And for us, the most challenging thing was to get to shift the AI, not to give the answers, but to ask insightful developmental questions that will really inspire ourselves to think. Basically, we really wanted to make sure that the AI behaves like a real coach. And I know that was not an easy journey for us to teach the AI, to train the AI, to program AI in that space of not giving solutions, but really asking questions. Was interesting, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, AI, be it whatever provider, either ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini, they're all made in some sort of way where if a user asks for something, it should deliver it to the user. And as you mentioned, that's one important highlight, I think, where the AI, it was difficult to train it in a way and instruct it in a way where it's not giving you everything on a plate, but rather asking you deeper questions and probing you so you can get to the insight rather than having everything served instantly.
Yeah. And I really want to be grateful to you because I know that was not an easy ask in our development because, again, you twist and turn and to test and try to get to that level of instructions and clarity with the AI was something that I really want everybody who's listening to this podcast to be aware of because we were like, wow, would that really work? Because sometimes in the iterations of our development, we'll come to the point when we thought that AI could coach, and then suddenly it will stop coaching and start advising and behaving like a normal algorithm, giving you all the solutions that you want in the world. So, you know, how did you do it? I mean, I don't want to get into technicalities behind this, just to explain the audience, but for you creatively as an agency, what was your approach into really managing and finally offering that solution to us and to the rest of the world?
Yeah. So with each project, we always start with understanding the domain. We are developers, we are AI experts, but we are not far from it, experts in coaching or any other industry that we work in. And for us, the base was to understand how do humans actually perform coaching. And you and the whole team at TNM were extremely helpful and forthcoming with all of the information, whatever we needed. Everything was delivered and explained in minute detail. And once we understood how this is being performed by humans, we could then translate this into instructions for the AI. Now, this was our initial approach. And with hindsight, it was a little bit naive because it wasn't really following all of those instructions that we laid out. So we took a systematic approach of the whole coaching process, how it works. We've written all of the instructions and we've given it to the AI. We were facing a lot of difficulties at that time because, as you said yourself, at one point we would be fascinated how well it works, but then we would wind up in some sort of edge case where actually it would it felt like it completely disregarded all of the instructions that we were giving it. And since this is not a straightforward program where every time you input 2 plus 2 you will get 4, you always get some sort of different answers. It was really difficult to trace what was the issue. We were playing around with different models as well because different LLMs have different sort of capabilities. Some have better instruction following, but less creativity. Some have deeper reasoning for complex issues, but don't really follow instructions that well. And I would say the pivotal moment where we really found what worked for us was taking a step back after a lot of trial and error, taking a step back, and instead of having one big instruction set where on occasion, in some edge cases, these instructions would also be conflicting and the AI wouldn't really know what to do. We laid it out into multiple different instruction sets specific to that situation, which allow the AI to have a narrower instruction set, meaning that it would follow the instructions more accurately, but also still have enough freedom to not feel too rigid, not to feel like a robot, but actually somebody who is a good conversational partner. So yeah, after a lot of trials and errors, we've managed to uh, get to a point where we were satisfied and it was working under every single condition, under all edge cases. And through that, after additional refining, we've gotten to a very good place where it's actually doing everything that is required.
Yeah, and thank you so much for explaining that, because I think it's important for our partners to know that this is not an easy task, easy job. Some people don't even believe that the AI coaching is possible. I talk to people and they're saying, is this really possible? Can AI ever coach to the level that feels really human, that feels really supportive, and it feels like the user is being understood, and really kind of related to. And I somehow feel that we managed to strike that balance exactly with what you were saying, like giving it the freedom, giving it some instructions to get to the level that AI actually becomes believable and trustworthy.
Definitely. Yeah. One thing that I do want to note is, for example, OpenAI, the biggest AI company out there, even had a problem with their GPT-4o model, where it was too supportive. This was a big scandal, let's call it like that, in early 2025, where the model was reported to be overly supportive of everything. Whatever you said, even if it was a good idea or a bad idea, it would always tell you, yeah, good job, go for it. And especially with coaching, which is even more difficult than and even more complex, and it has a large human touch to it. This was important not to have those issues translated into Leelou.
Yeah, exactly. And I also want to share with the audience that one of the beautiful things that we've done together as well in this process is to introduce the coaching model as a sequence. And we usually refer to Leelou AI Coach as a pure coach. Sometimes, when we build coaching solutions, we give it more freedom to improvise, but with the infrastructure and architecture of the dialogue of that conversation was the grow coaching model and the sequence of coaching. And that gives people idea or understanding how the real coaching actually really works, because for some people who don't know, coaching is a technique. When you follow the technique and you follow the sequence inside of the model, then you can really achieve the results. So I think that was also interesting, isn't it, Luka, to have this backbone of coaching model supporting the interaction.
Definitely, I completely agree. I do have to note that when we started, from the point where we started the project up until now, I have learned so much about coaching personally, as well as everyone in the team. And it really is a technique. It's not just two people sitting down for a casual conversation, seeing where it goes. It really is a technique, and there is a science and an art to it. And translating it into a product. And this is, I think, the crucial part for any sort of AI product, not just allowing the users to have access to the capabilities that the AI has, but actually crafting the product in a way where the user is guided to extract the most possible value from the product is, I would say, even more important than the actual AI's capabilities.
Yeah, I completely. And I think that the product in itself, when we talked to Luka and the rest of the agency and his team, we really wanted to simulate the proper coaching conversation, right? One of the unique opportunities or unique selling points of the Leelou is that you will sit with Leelou as the AI coach in a proper coaching session. That coaching session will have duration of 25 minutes. You will not be able to leave the tool because something happened or the email came in and the WhatsApp came in. You're invited to the meeting and then scatter yourself once again into something else in your life. But it was more like you are present as you will be present with any coach, focused, alert, dedicated, and engaged. And that limit in itself, like that parameter, really has helped us, to simulate the proper coaching conversation and for Leelou to really become powerful in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I assume the same way when humans are coaching, if the coachee is sitting there and they receive a WhatsApp message or an SMS message, they're not going to interrupt the whole coaching session and look at their mobile phone. This would be rude. And translating that whole environment into Leelou was, I think, very important for the whole product to work.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also grateful that you said, AI solutions, but converting the AI into the product that really serves humanity, it's something that we have done really well together. Now, a lot of the people, when I talk to them, they ask me this question, and this is just a question to both of us, not only to you, we can explore that. They ask me, how empathetical this algorithm can really be, how empathetical Leelou can really be. Can Leelou simulate that level of the warmth or connection that we will feel when you sit with somebody virtually or face to face? You see them, you see their eyes, you see their body language, you can see how they move in space. You can even use your sensories of smell, and many things contribute to developing that relational energy that we call empathy. So what would you say on that? When people say, can it really give that emotional connection, or how does it give this emotional connection in the whole process of conversation?
Yes, I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is something that all major AI research labs and companies are struggling with as well. I mean, everybody knows from movies and pop culture that AI is just a robot. Robots don't have emotions, and translating this into coaching, I mean, there a huge part of it is lost. As you said, body language, seeing somebody's face, their reactions to the things that are said is extremely important. And this can also be translated to AI if we take some sort of approach of systematizing and categorizing what is actually empathy. Of course, if we do this, this doesn't mean that we have 100% empathy and that it'll work like a human, but we can get really close to it. For example, if we explore it and see what sort of phrases humans use when they are empathetic, or how the conversation steers if something very important is said. If I tell you something right now in our coaching session, let's say something really heavy, something that's really valuable to me, and you just glance over it and continue with your session, I mean, this would be even in a normal conversation, this would be really jarring, and uh, I would say it would ruin the whole conversation. And implementing this into the algorithm, into Leelou, so it understands what things are important and how to detect them, it was really difficult. I'm not saying that we were able to instill emotion and that we have the first AI ever that has emotion. Far from it. I think this is the most difficult thing that all AI research labs are wrestling with. But I think we've gotten to a point where we were able to instruct Leelou in a sense that it is able to understand when to pause and where to divert its attention depending on what the user says.
Mhm. And also, yeah, I would say use the language, because just yesterday somebody was testing Leelou and they texted me afterwards by saying, "Wow, that was even better than the normal coach, because I really felt understood, and I really felt that the Leelou itself, gave me that sense of, I get you, I understand you, I hear you, So the language, supportive language like that, is part of the infrastructure and design, when people can really feel themselves that they're being heard and understood. And part of the coaching is always, somebody coming with a problem or challenge or an opportunity, and then the coach really making them right and making them heard and understood, and also challenging them sometimes. So that language is super important. And I'm sure that in the future, in our growth and development, Luka, will come to the moment when innovation of technology will help us even more in depth in creating that sense of emotional connection, right?
Absolutely. I've read an interesting story some time ago in a book called Stealing Fire, where they described an AI interviewer developed in the early 2010s. This was funded by DARPA in the US. And what they found was that humans who interacted with the AI avatar compared to a real human coach or psychologist or therapist, they tended to reveal more information, not even more information about themselves, but more important information that's more emotional. Probably because this is at least what the researcher said, because they felt like they weren't judged in this case with the AI avatar. So that's also definitely one big plus, that sometimes people might have like some sort of break when they're coaching with a human.
Yeah. And I would build on that what you said, that when we teach people how to coach, the most challenging skill to learn actually is suspending judgment. No matter what we think in the coaching space, we need to neutralize and come to the space of not judging the coachee. And for all of us, it's always so difficult because the function of our brain is still polarized. So when somebody says something, in order for you to discern, make sense, understood, and use your logic, we need to go through the process of discernment and judgment. So sometimes the coachee will feel, even though the coach is saying, well, I'm not judgmental, I'm not going to judge what you said right now, especially if it's against their values or ethics or something that they personally struggling with. It's very difficult to neutralize and become zero. I practiced that all my life as a coach, and I'm still far away. So I can completely see, from that research, Luka, how when somebody confesses to the algorithm that we call AI coach, they can feel not judged, and therefore they open up a little bit more, and they maybe share the secret or something hidden deeply within themselves they would never say to anybody else, because they would feel whatever they say they will judge me, right? So it's interesting how that actually serves the purpose of people being much more honest, isn't it?
Exactly. And OpenAI also revealed that a lot of people who are using ChatGPT are sometimes sharing personal details about themselves that they probably shouldn't be sharing with OpenAI. And they made a blog post warning people that maybe to refrain at some moment. So definitely there's a tendency to overshare because we don't feel judged. At the end of the day, it's just a computer screen in front of us.
Exactly. And this is how we see it. And I think that that's the power when people think about why would I coach with the AI coach? Why would I coach with Leelou? I think that there is a benefit for that, being able to be authentic and real and really share without that hesitation that you need to develop psychological safety with the coach in order for you to be able to share 100%. Because somehow in that technological relationship, we developed that safety quite quickly. For me, it was fascinating as well. When I was testing Leelou, I would share secrets about myself that would be very difficult to share to the coach. I felt like, wow, this is a neutral space. I can really be myself. And I think we need to emphasize that as a power, isn't it? This is the power of that algorithm as well. Even though, as you said, sometimes oversharing is not good, but we are using it like that.
Definitely. Yeah, I completely agree.
So, when it comes to Leelou being able to challenge people, part of the whole coaching process, it's also for coach to ask difficult questions. And I was witnessing one of the sessions with one of my closest friends who shared with me, and she was struggling with exercise routine and maintaining discipline to be able to really exercise. And she knew that was the most important thing in her life, but then she was procrastinating and not doing it and finding all the excuses and so on and so forth. And then she shared with me the coaching session she had with Leelou, and Leelou did ask a breakthrough question that really nobody asked her ever before. So it was like this moment of of a pure channel, I would say, for better word of that was such a beautiful question that really made her think. Like nobody ever asked me that question. So I just wanted to highlight that as well, that inside this algorithm, somehow, somewhere, we managed to program or to instruct the application to really ask insightful questions for people to wake up. So any comments on that? Anything that you would love to share? Do you know how that came about, or is just a mystery of life that now Leelou knows how to ask very, very good coaching questions?
Yeah, that's something extremely fascinating with this project. I have personally also found similar situations while we were testing it, and part of the testing would be done manually, automatically, and where we don't really get into the character of what we're actually doing. And what I've personally found is those sessions really didn't, those tests and those sessions really didn't provide that much value of where Leelou actually is and if the fixes that we've done have actually helped us. And in moments where I would really get into it, really sit down, be emotionally available for it, Leelou would also ask questions sometimes that will make me angry, but angry in the sense that I didn't really think I'm just testing an application that we're building. I didn't really think this would go that deep and this heavy, but also very revealing. And I, as you said, I think that's the correct word. Like experiencing breakthroughs in these sessions isn't something that's rare. However, the important thing there is to be emotionally available and present in these sessions, because I also do want to highlight we've done a lot of tests on it, our whole team. And after some time, you don't really want to, there isn't really that much to talk about in your life. So we would even make up characters and avatars with different situations to cover all the different edge cases. And we would then use those avatars in those situations in testing. However, those tests weren't really that successful, again, because we're detached from that character. It's like somebody else is sitting on the laptop or the PC and writing, responding to what Leelou was saying. And that brings us back to just being emotionally available and present. And for this, in our test, what we found is just using our own personal life and our personal example. So that was really, really fascinating.
Yeah, to me, that's fascinating as well. And, we can put it into the magic mystery of life, the presence, the engagement, that we also dictate, the responses based on our perception as well, how available we are in the moment. And you use the right word, even though we're talking to the algorithm, so to say, the emotions or emotional availability. It's also super important because sometimes when we presence ourselves within the conversation, then the conversation really flows. And this is the reason why we kind of structure it in a way that it simulates a proper coaching conversation. So I just want you to know that people who are listening, there is a little bit of magic and surprise inside of the algorithm, and we're still surprised and we're still learning. The AI is fascinating field, and it will surprise us even more going forward. One of the important things, Luka, that I also want to mention to the audience and talk to you quickly about is the safety and security protocols. Sometimes I sit with psychologists. Coaching is not therapy, but I do interact and work with a lot of therapists in my life. And sometimes they will be a little bit alerted by saying, what happens in the case when somebody is displaying certain behaviors that can be harming to them, displaying behaviors when they can feel they want to do something in their life, which is usually with therapists will feel like risky, or they say the language that can be harmful or risky for them, and how does the algorithm then respond to that by alerting the coachee that, hold on a second, something is wrong here. So I just want you to talk a little bit about your kind of our experience, not only yours, in making sure that certain safety protocols are in place while people are coaching.
Exactly. So we do have a big responsibility developing this app, both from our side and from TNM side, and we're not we're not creating a to-do list or a calendar or something very simple like that. If things go wrong, users might misinterpret the information that Leelou gives, and because of that, we've worked from the very beginning extensively on implementing safety guardrails to have a clear distinction, as you said, between what is actually coaching and if we're getting into waters of therapy and other things. And currently, the algorithm is performing extremely well in detecting what the if it's steering into unclear waters, and how should the user actually act in those situations, that we should actually stop with the current coaching and that the user should seek professional help with whatever they mentioned. And we have implemented both keyword matching on detecting those things, as well as intent matching, because sometimes keywords themselves aren't enough. And lastly, it's not only what we implemented from the guardrails, but the underlying models that we use. AI safety is extremely important, and I'm glad that it's getting the attention, more and more attention that it's getting today, because the underlying model that we are using also has a lot of safeguards and guardrails implemented in it. So two layers, basically the underlying model and our layer, make sure that users are taken care of appropriately and that they do find the resources appropriate for their situation.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure this will be a really, really good information for the head of learning and development, the HR executives, people managers who are evaluating different algorithms, different AI solutions. So without getting too technical into the whole space, they can understand now why the tool can give them what they need while then being wise and being clear about in the case something goes wrong, there is always a safeguard behind this. And my very last question that, about the tool, about Leelou, is that a lot of people are asking, how confidential is it? Because sometimes, when we introduce tools like this, especially rolling it out in big organizations, and I'm also talking to the HR executives, but also people who are using it, people get a little bit tense to, can somebody find out what I'm really talking about? Can this leak out? Can my insecurity about my job, about my life, can something that is, burdening me in my everyday life that I'm sharing authentically and openly, can somebody else find out? Can somebody else ever kind of break into that and say, well, here it is. So what would you say on that?
Yes, that security and privacy is something that's extremely important in every single application, especially this type of application, because personally, I'm the type of user who doesn't want any sort of data collected or anything like that on every single website or application that I'm using. So I share the importance of something like this, and this was in mind from the very get-go to have systems put in place where contents of the sessions aren't available to other users, be it administrators, be it higher ranking users than regular coaching users. And the reasoning behind that is what we were mentioning previously. I want to feel this is a safe space, somewhere where I can open, be emotionally available, and share my personal thoughts. If I know that at the end of the day, some sort of administrator can just go into the system and see what Luka was talking about or Zoran was talking about, this doesn't make any sense. And this would erode the trust of any sort of user. And we have we have designed the system from the very get-go to keep this in mind, so users can maintain the utmost privacy with their conversations and thus extract the most value out of Leelou at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's important for all of us in the day, psychological safety, security, knowing that you can be yourself, knowing that there is no surveillance of your data and those sessions are tight seal and you can really enjoy them with the full relaxation. I think for me it was, amazing knowing that. Now, shifting into the, next iteration of Leelou, what's coming up in AI development, especially within the coaching industry. Where we are with Leelou right now, Leelou can, you can chat with Leelou if you're in a busy office or if you're in a busy space and you don't want to use your voice. You can talk to Leelou when you are in privacy of your own space, your own office, even with your headset, which is the application that when you can talk and chat, which I think is absolutely beautiful to simulate both interaction. But then I'm curious, as many of our HR partners and our clients are curious, where are we going next? I know this is a very big question. I mean, we can now spend another 2 hours talking about the possibilities and potentials of the AI and what we can accomplish. But within this domain, how do you see it as a developer? What do you see can be the next step in growing this Leelou application to the next iteration of itself?
Definitely. And as you said, this can be a podcast in itself, but going in the direction of understanding emotions is, I think, the next step and something that a lot of companies out there are already working on. This ties back to what we were mentioning previously, understanding, since we only have voice chat capabilities and textual chat, via text, there's not really too much room for detecting emotions. We can assume, but we can assume things, but they wouldn't be really correct. But via voice, we're able to understand. I think the future lies in understanding the different tonalities that users are using. For example, if their voice suddenly becomes quiet, or if they become loud, or if they start speaking too quickly, this might signal that they're nervous or that they're agitated or something like this. I think this is definitely the next step that would bring the most value to applications, to conversational applications like these. And besides that, I would say video, because at the end of the day, um, there's a lot of value definitely from talking with a system, but when you can connect somebody's voice and somebody's um, personality, like Leelou has currently, to a face, I think this would be definitely valuable to people, because we're animals at the end of the day, and if we have eye contact with someone, that's also, I think, soothes a sort of a part of our brain that's been here from the beginning of our species. And alongside that, I would also say adding additional context to the user. And what I mean by that is, instead of we do have currently a questionnaire, and that users are completing before starting coaching. However, adding additional information, some sort of background, because it's not the same thing if I'm talking to a stranger on the street who I know nothing about, or when I'm talking to my best friend who I've known 25 years. It's completely different. And if the AI coach can have access, of course, in a safe and secure way, this would definitely open whole new possibilities that would enhance and bring even more value.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that the avatar, the video, it's also something that we're all going to look into. Recently, I was in China on my business trip, and there was a promotional video of me doing something at a conference, and then they synchronized me, and I was talking in pure Chinese while my lips moving, and not out of sync, but in the sync. And I was looking at myself thinking, oh my God, I can become an AI coach. Like once, like my personality or who I am as a coach can really be uploaded to the algorithm as well. So I think we're heading in that direction. I think that this personalities developing of the avatars, getting people to really digitalize themselves in a way that they will really be able to extend their values, because we're always looking into that. We're looking into how can we extend our impact. And I just want to highlight one important thing with that, as well as we're completing this conversation, that the whole idea behind Leelou AI Coach was not to replace coaches. Sometimes people think, wow, you're replacing coaching as a profession. It was not done from that intent. Intent was to democratize the coaching. Coaching is one of these services that is still offered to a very small part of the humans. Usually those people are in a very good positions in their organizations, or people who are passionate about personal development, people who invest in themselves. But majority of people are still not using coaching, and they don't even know about coaching. So the whole idea behind this Leelou AI is to democratize, is to give it to as many people as possible, and not to replace the coach, but to enhance the possibility of somebody considering to be coached by the real coach in the future. So it's in that way, it's not a taking people out of the job, because this is the big conversation about AI. It's more about enhancing and catalyzing the human growth and expanded coaching as it is. So I just want to make sure that people understand also the intention behind the bigger development and bigger potential of this, right? Lucas, so as we're wrapping up today, anything that you would love to leave the audience with, anything that you feel that you would love to share, just to feel complete and happy with our conversation?
Yeah, so we've mentioned everything that I think is important for the audience to know. One additional thing I would like to tie on is what you mentioned in this whole space of AI and where AI is heading. And there are doomers and there are people who are very optimistic. There's a bunch of different opinions on what the future holds for AI and for humanity in general. Of course, AI will be developing rapidly and it will become better and better. But at the end of the day, a human touch is something that I think is irreplaceable. No, maybe people will be watching this in 20 years and laughing at it once AI starts mimicking every sort of aspect of humans. But at the current state, and I think in the foreseeable future, something that humans have is irreplaceable. And there are benefits definitely to AI, but a conversation between two humans, even over a cup of coffee or in a coaching environment, is something that's completely different. and serves a completely different purpose, I would say, and outcome than interacting with AI, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And that's the hope. The hope is that people would use the AI to enhance their capability to coach, to connect. It will inspire them to have these conversations, to open up, to share. And as a result of that, they will have even more human interactions and quality interactions with coaches as well. So we really want to democratize coaching and offer it to everybody else. So thank you so much, Luka, for joining us today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this conversation, to this podcast when we introduced the Leelou. If you like to experience Leelou AI Coach for yourself, for your organization, for your team, please go to tnmcoaching.com/Leelou, and you can really find all the information necessary for you to be able to experience this wonderful AI coach. We are offering trial versions for our key clients and partners. If you're somebody who just stumbled upon this podcast and wants to try out Leelou, please get in touch, and we'll be more than willing to share what we created for humanity. So thank you once again, Luka, for joining me today and joining us today. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in to TNM Coaching Unplugged. We're so grateful and happy that you are coming week after week, that you're sharing this podcast. We're growing and growing and growing, which is wonderful to see every week. So I want to be grateful for our base audience for listening and learning. And I hope this podcast will inspire you to use technology in the most beautiful and responsible way while maintaining this human touch that Luka was saying it's so important at the end of the podcast. Thank you so much, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.